listening to the Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are a part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. I am your host, Val Kleppen. Two things I'd like to share before we launch right into our episode today. One is I've been hearing from several people. I'm not going to call anybody out. And also, I bet I haven't been hearing from even more of you who have this same thought. And the thought is, Val, I really enjoy listening to the podcast, but no, I don't want to or can't be a guest because I just feel like I don't have anything to share. Is that you? Have you thought that? Have you said that? And here's my argument to that. Well, I don't want to use combative language. Here's my counter. My gentle, quiet, demure counter to that thought. First of all, that's a lie from the devil. You are a mother. You are in charge of precious lives and their stories and legacies, and you absolutely have something to share and to contribute. Your story as a mother matters. Period. The end. I don't want you believing otherwise. Whether you are a guest on the podcast or not, I do not want you to believe otherwise. Okay? If we were at a social gathering or a party and you walked in and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Val," and you introduced yourself to me and I said, do you have family in the area? And you would say, "Why, yes, I have 3 kids. I have a husband, yada, yada." I would say, "Oh, how old are your kids?" And you would most likely tell me. And I would say, "Oh, I remember having kids those ages. What is it like for you to be a mom to those precious kids?" I'm going to bet money that your answer would not be, "I'm sorry, I don't feel like I really have anything to share." I'm going to bet money that your answer would be, "Yeah, I don't have anything to contribute to in answering that." You would have an answer. You would tell me what mothering and being their mother was all about. I'm going to bet. That is what this is. I'm not here to interview superhumans who lift cars off of people, some superhero mom who lifted a car off of somebody, or PhD of something while she was a single mother working 8 jobs. The motherhood experience is just that. Everyday moms, just like you, just like me, coming on, chatting around the table about what their experience has been in becoming and continuing to be a mother. I really, really want that message to be loud and clear. Your story matters. Whether you end up being a guest on the Motherhood Experience or not, your story matters. Those lives that you're nurturing, that matters. You absolutely have something to contribute. You already have. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Secondly, I'm going to launch into this episode now. This is going to be part 1. I can hear some of you. Part 1 of a 2-part series because Mary and I talked for over an hour and 15 minutes on recording. And I feel like that's just too long for an episode, especially with the lengthy intro I have already given. So here's what we're going to do. This week, you're going to hear the first part of Mary's story that we're going to break halfway through. Hopefully, I can edit to the point where it's a decent break. Next week, I'll start again. I'll do another intro just to remind you that it's a part 2. So listen to part 1 first, and I'll kind of hopefully back up a little bit to recap some of what she shares before we just launch right into part 2. Okay? So I want to give you a heads up about that. And now I feel like we're good. I feel like everything is taken care of. I said everything I wanted to say. So here, friend, is my interview with my guest and mother, Mary Burke. Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to have my friend and guest, Mary Burke, join me on the podcast today. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Val.
So good to see you. And I would love for you to start off telling everybody ages and stages of your kids and where you are in motherhood today.
All right. Well, first off, we have our oldest daughter, Emily. She's 24. Second to the oldest is Abby. She's 21. Then we have our son, Nolan, who's 13, and our Ian, who would be 11, and then our Madeline, who's 9. So you
So
can tell from the age gap there, we're in a few stages right now.
it's a little bit of a struggle for me to believe that you have 2 adults already. What has that been like?
Wow, I know. It's been because Bob and I both feel we're kind of like their age. So we can't figure that out, how they are really that age when we're kind of that age too. And but yeah, no, it's been wonderful, and it's been an amazing experience watching these girls move on, out of high school, graduating college, and now in the adult world doing all this grown-up stuff. Just blows our mind.
I so relate to that because knowing my age and seeing the young married couples or whatever, I feel like I can just bop right along with them, but I cannot. I am not
Yeah,
their age, but I feel like I still should be.
right? Yes, we do too. Totally. We're
I want
there.
I wonder if that ever goes away
I hope
or if you
not.
just always I I like that
Yeah.
answer, Mary. I like
Yes.
that answer.
Yes.
So I'm grateful for the introduction into your family, and I'll get to a little bit later how you and I know each other.
Mhm.
But I would love to know, how many years have you and Bob been married now?
Oh, 26 years, almost 27.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Brent and I are not too far behind you. It will be 21 for us this year. And
Okay.
I knew that we were kind of close. I think I remember that.
Mhm.
But when you met Bob and got married, was a larger family always in the cards for you?
Um, we weren't sure. We knew we would hopefully have at least a couple kiddos. And when we had Emily, that pregnancy wasn't smooth at all. Like, we kind of ran into some problems along the way with that and some scary situations. And whew, we got her here safe and sound. I got here safe and sound, and we thought that might be it. And but honestly, obviously that wasn't it. And it was just amazing once she did fantastic here, nice, healthy, beautiful baby girl, and we just would have done it over a million times, to have her. And I knew she would not be an only child, or at least I had hoped she would not be an only child. So we we succeeded a bit at that. So
So when you say that you had like complications and stuff during your pregnancy with her, even though your love multiplied once Emily arrived into the world and you knew she wouldn't be an only child, were there still some questions in the back of your mind about being pregnant again?
yes. Oh gosh, yes. I I had preterm labor, and so I think I was about 24
Okay.
weeks or so. I had to go on bed rest. And oh boy, yeah, so that was um a shock to have that happen. And I was working full time, and I work in surgery, work in the OR. It's happening, moving, lots going on. And then just to stop, and that was a shock. And then towards the end of the pregnancy, I developed preeclampsia. And that was another kind of surprise. And, obviously happens in that, but got a little scary there for a little bit. But like I said, everything went well, and we got her here safe. And yeah, so when we were thinking about, another child, we had to be prepared. We felt like we needed to be prepared for about anything. And unfortunately, the second time we got pregnant, we had a miscarriage. So that was my first miscarriage. And that was that was a that was a big blow. Um,
Yeah.
and kind of sunk into a little bit of depression with that, just with the pregnancy that we endured with Emily, and then the second pregnancy ending like that. I didn't know what to think after that, but we made it through that, um, and decided to try again, and we got our Abby, and that.
Yes, both your girls are sweet, beautiful girls. Would you say your two oldest girls, are they pretty close?
They are, yes. They don't get me wrong. I mean, they had their moments growing up, but no, especially when Abby was just a baby, she thought the sun rose and set with Emily. I mean, she was her everything. And then school years, really, they're great. They're great girls, wonderful. They have a good
Yeah.
relationship, and even now, as they've gotten closer, even as adults, even though they don't live close to each other, they get together, they connect on their own, and still very close.
Right. There's nothing like a sibling, but there's nothing quite like a sister
Yeah,
when a sister is your sibling. So then
yeah.
along came your son, Nolan, and I want to ask you because I know just recording this episode has been a chore because
I know.
I guess I guess boys will be boys.
Yes.
But what was it like for you to have two girls? You kind of get into a rhythm and routine in
Hmm.
raising girls, and then along comes a boy. What was that like for you and Bob?
Oh, complete shock. Um, when we found out, we decided to find out at the ultrasound if he was a boy or a girl, and oh, we just all thought it's another girl. It totally is another girl. I mean, I was sick as a dog, all the symptoms so similar to when I carried the girls, and I just
Yeah.
thought, I'm like, oh, it's another girl, which I was like, that's good, that's okay. We know girls, we can do girls. So when they said it's a boy, I'm like, wow. Yeah. So that was, um, yeah, a surprise, a shock, and a little bit of, ooh, are we going to know how to do that? Take care of a boy?
It is a different world.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Very
a
much
very different
so.
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, would you mind kind of divulging a little bit what the last couple weeks for you have been like?
Oh, well, I don't know. How long's your podcast? I don't know. If we have time to get into all of it, but I'll kind of do the Cliff Note version.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. No. Oh gosh, yeah. So our Noli, bless his heart, he does. He keeps us on our toes day in and day out. Absolutely. He is 1,000% boy. He's so curious. He is so passionate about anything he ever gets into. And he has such fun little hobbies that he enjoys. And, sometimes those things, you know, he has a little trouble with, but he was, for instance, his first incident, which was a week and a half ago, he loves to split wood. And it's not like we live out on the farm or in the country or anything like that, but we have we, we have some fire pits out back, and we do enjoy. We had cut down a lot of trees through the years. We have a lot of firewood out there, and he loves to go out and
Yeah.
split it. And we're like, that's fantastic. He's our very high energetic kiddo, and maybe we'll get into all that later, but he really thrives well. He has a release of energy, and that splitting wood just is very therapeutic actually for him. And he's been doing it for years. And we just let him do it. He's done it so much. I don't need to really be out there with him, and he's 13, but he's got great aim. But he did miss last Wednesday, and unfortunately got his foot. Tried to, yeah. So thank goodness he had his boots on, but still split that boot open. Yeah, he was not bothered too badly by it. He came running. Well, I don't know if he came running into the house because I was down doing laundry, so I have no idea. But I hear him hollering
Maybe hobbled into the house.
Probably hobbled, yeah. And I just hear him yelling, "Mom, I cut my foot." And just kind of like not urgent, but like, hey, just letting you know I cut my foot. So I come up, and obviously I'm like, wow, what he's like, yeah, I was, I missed. And I'm like, oh, I guess you did. So I said, well, Noli, so we're going to have to go get that taken care of, buddy. You're going to need some help. Band-Aid is not going to help that. So he's like, oh, it's okay though. I can't feel it. It doesn't hurt. And I'm like, oh man, he probably severed a nerve or something. But everything appears to be intact, and tendon he's got full function, it looks like. And so,
oh my goodness.
So we got him in. And
yeah, we were set to record, and like 5 minutes before I opened my email, and there was an apology from you that was like, I'm so sorry, but I am in the ER right now. Nolan sliced his foot open with an axe. Like, completely understand. You take care of everything you have to take care of, Mary.
That's often an excuse used, I'm sure, when somebody has to cancel, right? That's a very common reason to cancel. But
I mean, normally it's like, oh, I think I might be sick. Maybe we should. But Mary's like, my son sliced his foot open with an axe.
Yeah,
Can we reschedule? Absolutely.
So, and in my head, I'm thinking, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna go down to urgent care, get him stitched up. Shouldn't take too long. I'll be back in no time. Sit down, get everything ready. I can still do the podcast with you. So, I don't know what I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking. So Bob, he's so funny. When I left the house, just right before I left the house to take him, he's like, well, tell Val I can sit in for you. He's like, I can do it. I can do it for you.
That actually sounds like something Bob would offer up to do. I love that.
Totally.
I love that.
Absolutely. And
boys,
I think he was halfway serious too.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, but boys are a totally different world. Totally different world. And I did love, you said something like, if we still did it, I mean, talk about being in the midst of motherhood. And I actually had the same thought. I was like, man, this is reality podcasting.
Totally.
If I've ever heard of it before.
Could have went live right there in the ER.
And I'm so glad. I'm so glad he's okay.
Oh,
and
gosh, yeah.
Goodness knows that was not the first time he injured himself, and certainly not the last either.
No. As you found out in my previous email, or preceding emails rather, of like, so the whole tick bite fiasco and all that involved.
Yeah.
And that was quite an ordeal. And
we'll just say for the listeners' sake that Mary and I have talked about maybe the benefits of an emergency room punch card.
Yes, absolutely.
Where if you fill the card, like four punches, your fifth visit is free.
It should be a thing. It really should.
We should look into this.
Yes. Even if it expired
Oh
in a
man.
year, I got one more and it's on them. That's all. That's all we got. We just got one
It-
more.
If if you are employed by a benefits company or an insurance company, this should be a thing. I just want to say, if you're listening right now,
Yes.
let's make this happen.
Let's do it. Please.
So
Yes.
I never did, I never did get around to where you and Bob are from. Even I never asked that at the top of
Oh,
the episode. Tell everybody where you live.
we're in Wisconsin. We're in Janesville, Wisconsin.
Yes, and I have only ever been to Wisconsin one time, and that actually is how we met. Was
Hmm.
on my one trip to a tiny, I don't even think it's a dot on the map.
I know. I don't even
But
know the town
had
name.
you ever heard of it before,
We
the town?
we have just we vacation kind of near there ish, and so we knew
Okay.
that. Bob knew that because the that river, that little St. Croix River, I think that we went fishing at or something. That of course he knows that. He knows a lot of Wisconsin better than I do, but so
Right.
I think we have, but not ever to like stay there or visit really. But yeah,
Right. Okay, so we've talked about Emily and Abby and Nolan, your oldest three children, and it was after Ian that you and I met in Wisconsin in a teeny, is it even a town? I guess it is a town, Danbury, Wisconsin, at Faith's Lodge,
yes,
where we went um, as as bereaved parents. I think it was June of 2013 because it was
yes.
Father's Day weekend when we were
Oh
there.
yeah, that's right.
And yes,
Yeah.
and so that was a challenge all in its own, but it was Brent and I and like 7 or 8 other couples. There were quite a few of us there, I think, and you and
There were.
Bob um, were one of the couples that we met there, and we kind of just adored and adopted you guys right away.
Well, and us
We
you
were like,
guys. Yeah. We connected, I think,
we're like,
right away.
we really like them. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
we did. And so tell me about Ian and why we ended up meeting each other at Faith's Lodge that year.
Yes. So actually to back up, after we had Nolan, we decided, well, we weren't gonna have, I know this is kind of going way back, but it kind of adds to
No,
it, I
go
guess.
ahead.
Um, we like after we just because we have a gap between Abby and Nolan. There's like an 8 year gap, and we oftentimes people are like, "Oh, was he a surprise?" And like, no, he wasn't. We just weren't sure if we were done having kids or not. And we're like, oh, we need to get going. If we're going to have more kiddos, we're not getting any younger. So, so then we got pregnant with Noli, and he was like the greatest pregnancy ever, except I was very sick, but I just was anyways with all the kids. But then, and he was going to be it. After
Mm,
he was born, we're like, oh, he's going to be all by himself and he needs to have a little buddy. And yeah, I'm like, we need to have one more. And of course, he's like, absolutely. It's one thing that you should never regret not having enough kids. And
right.
so we got pregnant right away and we had another miscarriage. Um, so that was, of course, another setback, in a sense. And,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but, we, again, we're like, oh no, I don't know. I didn't know. Should we or shouldn't we? Wow. This is, I don't know, but we decided we would try again. And that's when we got pregnant with Ian and very excited. Of course, from the beginning, a little nervous, obviously, just kind
Hmm.
of with our little track record that we had. And, but things kind of started out normal, except I wasn't as sick. I didn't get really sick, and that bothered me. But every pregnancy is different. And we actually had a midwife with Ian. We had a midwife with Nolan, and he was born at home. We had home delivery for him. And
Oh,
yeah, yeah. And it was fantastic. And we had hoped to do the same with, with our Ian. And we, progressed in the pregnancy and had our 20-week ultrasound and decided we'd, find out the gender. And we had a little like reveal, and it was actually Nolan's second birthday party. It wasn't his birthday, but it was like the next day, I think, that we had family and friends, and then revealed that this is kind of funny. We are having a girl. They said we are having a girl, and yeah, we're like, oh
I
my
don't
god,
think I knew this.
yeah, yeah, and so that was, we're like, oh, a girl, a girl. So, but during that ultrasound, the technician wasn't getting good views of his the baby's heart.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept leaving the room and coming back in, and she'd take more pictures, leave the room, and then come back in. But every time she left, it was like, oh, I'm just telling the next people it's going to be a little while, or there was always a little excuse. But now, I mean, we know why she kept leaving the room and coming back in, and all that. But we were oblivious. I was just oblivious to anything bad at all. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just, sometimes that happens. You just got to. So she's like, your doctor will give you a call and then probably want you to come back in next week for some, another ultrasound. So, and then she put the gender in an envelope and sealed it up for us because we were going to open it the next day. And we're like, now, if you're not 100% sure, like we don't want to know, if there's any question, we don't need to know right now, and she's like, oh no, nope. She's like, everything looked good. And I'm like, pretty sure she's like, the last thing she said to us, she's like, we haven't made a mistake yet. Yeah, it was the last
Famous
thing.
last words. Yeah.
Famous last word. That was,
Yeah.
yeah, as we're leaving, she's like, oh, we haven't been, I think she said, we haven't been wrong yet. So we're like, oh, okay, all giddy and excited. And so then, yeah, so we had a party, had the reveal, and it was great. That was like a Saturday. And then that Monday, whew, um, got that phone call that will forever, ever, ever be, remembered. And that was my doctor, my OB, and because we co-managed with a midwife and then an OB, and um, she broke the news. She said, "I'm so terribly sorry, but there's some issues. There's some problems with the baby," and she wasn't sure what all was going on for certain, but knew there were some cardiac abnormalities. And she just said, I got to get you up to Madison right away. You need to be seen right away. And with the perinatal specialists up there. So I kind of had a little miniature breakdown here at home. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning when I got that call. Of course, Bob was at work and the girls were here and Nolan. And oh, I didn't know what to do, except I, had to call Bob right away. And so that was the beginning of our journey with our Ian. And they got us right in up there that day up in Madison, and they did some more testing, more ultrasound. They kind of thought maybe they knew what might be going on, but he's pretty small yet. And we decided to do some further testing for like any genetic issue. I did an amniocentesis, and So we went ahead and did that. And they kind of listed a few things. It could be this, or this, which was a lot of things. And it just did not sound good at all. And prognosis of any of those issues or problems was not good. And so it was a very grim news to us. And so we kind of, I don't know what we did. It's a bit of a blur. It just kind of all runs together, but we totally, I know, like went in survival mode and didn't really know what side was up for a while. Those results, those amnio results, I think we got them like on that Wednesday. So that was on a Monday, and then we got the results on a Wednesday. And I don't even know if Bob went to work. I can't remember. But somehow we got through those days. But then we got the amnio results, which really didn't tell us much more other than we weren't having a girl, we were having a boy.
Surprise.
Right. So they kind of started out with that, like, oh, did they tell you you were having a girl or a boy? And we're like, oh, a girl. And they were really certain. And we're like, well, it's a little boy. And then we're like, are you sure? Like, are you certain? And so I think like our next ultrasound, which was I think like the next day, we had to go back up there. And we're like, now you check and make sure it's a boy. And they did. He was a boy. He was a boy. But yeah. So we again, he was so little still, and they're like his little heart was, like the size of a grape. And it just was a lot of involvement with the cardiac, his heart. And so, and again, what they were seeing just, wasn't good news. And so we just kind of took it one step at a time as we got the information, as he got bigger, as things progressed. We got better learning about all the potential abnormalities, what that meant, statistics, really hard decisions, some really easy and some really hard. And of course, I mean, there was no doubt, we were going to carry him as long as we could. And so we just needed to gripping onto hope. That hope changed with each visit. I think we were up in their office once a week, once every other week, trying to gain more and more information as we could, as we went along. And we just carried them as long as we could, and eventually saw pediatric cardiologist that did more testing in utero, and he had about 5 different cardiac abnormalities, and 2 of them very fatal, and no cure that they could do, and no procedure that could help it. So, and that we just continued, we decided we're going to just do the best we can with what we have with this news, and just again making some crazy decisions that you never ever would dream that you would be making while carrying your child, and we look back and we don't know how we did all of that. I don't know. We oftentimes it feels like there are 2 different people. That was the Mary and Bob then, and now this is the Mary and Bob now. And I don't know how we did it, but we did, and we made it to 36 weeks. with him, and he was stillborn at 36 weeks. And we just had an appointment that day before, and everything was kind of okay,
Mhm.
okay for him. And just that reassurance of, okay, we have more time, with him. And unfortunately, I woke up in the night and I didn't, I couldn't feel him move. And we worked and we worked and we worked and we worked. And there just, I couldn't get a response. And so we went in and, oh, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I do. I
yeah,
do.
you know that.
And it's still a beautiful delivery story that you have as well. And I think that was one of the things that really kind of drew me to you while we were at Faith Lodge is when you were sharing about Ian. There was just this, like, you were visibly upset. Obviously, was he November of 2012? Am I remembering that right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
And we were, April of 2013, and we were at the lodge in June. So we were just a couple of
I
months into
know.
this. And
Oh,
you had a few more months on us, but your pain was so genuine, but it was hand in hand with the genuine peace that you had as you shared about Ian. And I was like, I want that. I want to tell our story like she's telling Ian's story. And so if you can, tell us about your delivery of Ian and how special that was.
sure, right. So, and a lot of this had to do with some of that planning that we had to do for him along the way. And we did not do this on our own. We had tremendous help from the wonderful specialists up in Madison that guided us through this and helped us prepare for any scenario that we faced, whether, he was born live and this had to happen or that had to happen, or, stillborn. So we were preparing for birth and death at the same time. It shouldn't, yeah, that's crazy to say in the same sentence, and
Mhm.
they shouldn't even belong together. But um, so, so along with that preparation, though, so learning, when searching for heart tones and not finding them, and then confirming, by ultrasound that he had passed away. We again, just bargain for more time, of course, and of course not ready, no matter how much we prepared. We're You can never be ready to hear that, and
Right.
but we had a lot of family and friends with us to help, and they gave us choice. Do you want to, stay? Do you need to go home? And home was a little ways away, and I thought, good grief, I go home, I'm never coming back. I'm going to keep him
Right.
in there forever, and that will be that.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head on over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Facebook and Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.